Just gotta get it real close, Tommy.
He's there.
Normally I have seen it in or something long before I got to it. I didn't, tonight I don't know. I remember looking, oh, I wonder if we should say Jordan thing. Yes.
Call the Oglesby City Council meeting to order.
Augubright,
Here.
Cullinan,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Mieski,
Here.
Rivara.
Aye.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion and second to approve the minutes from the May 4th, 2020 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 4th, 2020 regular meeting.
I'll second.
Augubright,
Aye.
Cullinan, Curran,
Aye.
Mieski,
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Public comments on agenda items only. Having none, we'll move on. Approve bills as presented for payment.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented for payment.
I'll second.
Augubright,
Aye.
Cullinan, Curran,
Aye.
Mieski,
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. 7, rejection of all bids for the water tower.
So with this, we had 7 bids come in. Now, our estimate was gonna be anywhere between 180 to the high end of 240,000. 7 of them came in. The lowest was 285,000 and the highest was 543,000. So since they were so far out of our range, we took a look at a couple options. We're gonna recommend rejection of all the bids. We're looking at ways right now to see how we can reduce some of these costs to get it kind of closer to what we expect for our budget. I plan to have a solution real soon for that. But in the meantime, any questions on any of the rejection of the bids?
No.
I'd like to make a motion to reject all the bids for the water tower recoat.
I'll second.
Augubright,
Aye.
Cullinan, Curran,
Aye.
Mieski,
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Discussion of possible ordinance allowing for outdoor dining. This has come up where we would draw up an ordinance so a business could put some tables on the sidewalk. We'd have to keep the proper distancing between tables and meet all the other requirements, but it's something that we could put together that maybe help the businesses in downtown.
I see it as only a positive for the downtown businesses to help bring in additional business for them.
And so would this include the bump outs, is that what they're called? I'm trying to-
Well,
The things that we put next to the sidewalk in the road, it's almost like a little
Mm-hmm.
dining area, is that, could that be included, or?
What, when Carrie did, not Carrie, Amy, did you include, excuse me, a copy of that Spring Valley ordinance? Have they all
Yes,
seen it?
Everybody should have it, yes.
A couple things. That was, let me just give you a little background.
Okay.
Spring Valley was approached by at least one business, and this goes back maybe 2 years ago, about, can we put, for outdoor dining, some tables on the sidewalk? And the city debated it back and forth, and they eventually decided, well, yeah, we'll let you do it subject to the restrictions. Now, if you look at that ordinance, there's a lot of restrictions in there. I don't know whether Spring Valley will want to revisit that or not. At the time that ordinance was put together, they wanted, I think Spring Valley wanted to make sure that, you know, they didn't have a bunch of trash around.
Yeah.
One thing you see in there, no alcohol outside, because they didn't wanna have to try to police, you know, I'm over 21, I'm buying a drink, and, you know,
Yeah.
now I'm giving it this, you know, to somebody who's under 21. Whether you want it to be that strict or not, you can kind of, you know, let me know.
Okay.
But, rather than reinvent the wheel, they had put that together. Mayor Rivard contacted me because I guess at least one business had indicated to him that they were just gonna start outdoor dining. And, to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I probably have to have, you know, channel and check this, but I would assume that all of the sidewalks on Walnut Street, you know, in the business part of Walnut
Yeah.
Street, I'm assuming that probably all those sidewalks are city property, and that the front of the building comes up to the city property. So, I had said to the mayor that regardless of how you feel about the governor's order, or what should
Yeah.
be done, assuming there was no COVID crisis, somebody doesn't have the right to just start using public property without the city's permission.
Yeah.
So that's what Spring Valley was dealing with.
So if we wrote the bump outs into it or other, we
You
could
could write whatever, yeah,
We
you
could write
could-
whatever into it, okay.
Exactly.
Well, so there's a couple things I'm curious with this, are we looking for a long-term permanent one, or is this just stuff for temporary while this COVID thing is kind of going on?
Well, that's more of like the ATV, if we write it now as in this situation, we wanna rewrite it, we can, is how I'm looking at it, but.
I like the idea, but I really do. I mean, a lot of places I've lived, either California or Florida, that's normal business how they operate for a lot of things. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. The problem is though, we gotta make sure that it's something that'd be applicable for every business. We don't wanna write something that just works for one business, so that way if another business wants to do it, they have that opportunity as well.
Well, like I said,
Jason, would this be something, that we would work, that we should be working with the businesses to develop?
Well, I think we wanna figure out where we want this to be at, cause tables on the sidewalks, and that's gonna be a pretty strict area, I'm feeling of downtown is where we want.
Yeah,
You're not gonna be
Yeah.
able to have, a lot of tables or dining. But I think if we're trying to write an ordinance to benefit the businesses in Oglesby, we need to have their input.
I agree.
They're the people that are in business, they're the people that are going through the expense. They're trying to make a living, and, this way we got both sides working together, we don't have top down. I don't know a damn thing about, running a restaurant or a
Yeah,
bar.
I agree, and what Tommy says too, the bump outs would actually give them quite a bit more room to do a lot of stuff. Problem is that really changes up even more then we got stuff inside the street then, I don't know if we have to do some type of barricade or how that all works there'd probably be a lot of rules and restrictions with that, but yeah, if we wanna look at options for
Doesn't,
every business.
don't they have a business association?
The Cabo?
Yes, Cabo. Cabo worked with the city to try to develop this.
I think that's a good idea.
And, well, either way, we want the downtown, if we can get all the downtown businesses or something along those lines too, cause it's really targeting just a certain area of town.
and I think it's something also you may wanna have the city engineer take a look at, because I think, you know, we still have to leave enough room for not just the public to use it, but for handicap
Yeah.
access also.
Well, that's why I'm thinking that, again, the bump outs would really solve that problem. Then we can put them, and it's more of, we're just thinking about it, I guess, right now, we'll try to find something for
Yeah.
the next meeting, but.
Yeah, what I was gonna do is, I wanted everybody to see this, so you could look at it. Don says, why don't you put one together, and we were talking about this probably Thursday afternoon or Friday, and I said, well, I'm probably not gonna have something, you know, ready in time to get Amy for the agenda. So that's why I just sent you the Spring Valley ordinance, he said, well, just make it like the Spring Valley ordinance, but when you guys look at it, you know, if you want changes,
Mhm.
just let me know, I mean, I can make changes.
It was a point to start the discussions and involve people so we can come up with a viable program.
And so this one to get passed, and we're gonna write an ordinance, so mid-June would be when this is.
Yeah, I mean, if we were
available.
gonna do something, we would probably, if it's using public property, so
Okay.
we'd have to put it on, you know, we'd have to probably have it ready to put on file at the June first meeting and then adopt at the
Okay.
June,
Well, like the mayor said, though, I think getting involved with even more businesses input, because I'm curious if we're talking about, is only one business interested in doing this, or is there more downtown that's interested in doing something like this? Because I'm not even sure if each side of the street has the same amount of distance on the walkway, so it might be more complicated.
but yeah, you, like I said, you may wanna have, someone from Chandler, just take a
Yeah.
look at that to make sure. I mean, they were involved, they represent, I'm sorry, the city engineers for Spring Valley also. So I'm sure Mike Burketta from Chandler, who handles the Spring Valley stuff, would have been at the meetings and had input on when we put that ordinance together. But I would suggest that, you know, before we pass anything, we have it reviewed just to make sure that we, you know, we're not doing it so broad, because you're not gonna block the sidewalks.
Mhm.
And we gotta make sure, like I said, primarily, my concern would be, you know, handicapping.
Yeah,
How
no, I
much room you have
understand
to
that.
leave with handicap accessibility.
And I guess I need a little clarity, is this for, to increase the business revenue down there, or is this in response to the COVID-19?
Well,
Because I don't
the
think
Spring
we're-
Valley one that was prepared, a specific business came to the city and said, we would like to do this. And after the city went through the process of creating the ordinance, I think they decided, to heck with it. So that was before COVID. But if, in fact, you know, that there are restrictions on how many people you can have, and, you know, maybe there would be some people now that would, you know, wouldn't want.
And I think outdoor is before indoor, and the plan, the master plan we all have, and that kind of stuff, so. And I think it's a lot just to be able to open is why they're looking to be
I think
outside
they're looking
seating.
for more space,
Yeah,
for more, so they could keep people social.
because I don't think they're allowing anyone inside the next phase, so then they can actually have people and start.
Well, that's what I was asking, if this is just COVID-related, or if this is gonna be a long-term thing forever.
I would look at it for a long time.
I think it should be a long-term
I do
thing
too.
eventually.
I think that's a bonus.
And that's the way it was drafted, that was the intent when it was drafted in Spring Valley. Because you can see they've got a license that you have to pay every year, because they wanted to have some control, you know, where they're gonna be talking where people, you know. I think some of the businesses said, well, you know, you'd order inside, you'd bring it outside, we just have tables there. Well, then, you know, who's gonna, when somebody's done eating and they get up and leave, is it gonna be blowing all over?
Yeah.
Is stuff gonna be blowing all over?
And is
the
it gonna
place?
be bleached right away?
And they said.
Well, yeah, we didn't even think about
In that ordinance, it has that they can remove the license at any time too, or something along those lines, so.
No,
At the end of the
it's a-
day, if someone misuses it, we can take it away.
Well, how about, I'll make contact with Chamlin's and talk to them about if there's any, if they know of any regulations or rules when it comes to the curbs and the sidewalks and and maybe even how the street would work with putting something in there. I could look at that, but if someone wants to also look into talking with the business, see if they want for options, Cabo
I'll
or.
do that.
And then if the downtown business wanna contact us, if they're interested, you know, that'd be
Sure.
another good thing for us to know. If we
Oh,
want
don't get me wrong,
2, or we want 8, or, you know, like.
I love the idea that the middle of
Maybe bigger
summer,
than we think it is.
I love the idea that the middle of the summertime that you could be walking down Walnut and there's 3 or 4 businesses that have people out on, you know, on a bump out or something like that, enjoying a meal or relaxing
Or
or
look
something
at
like that.
MJ's has it, their little patio area behind.
Yeah,
Yeah, somehow, you know, have the patio area, they may not, but there may be more interest than we believe. Let's
okay,
sit down and talk to them and put it out and try to move forward with it.
sounds good to me.
And, you know, you may get a response back, like I said, Spring Valley's, they put the no alcohol in there for that reason, now, you know. When with COVID, that's something you may wanna.
At this point, like, I could see retail businesses wanting to be on the side, anyone really, any business that's downtown, I feel like would want something on the sidewalk
I do
right
too.
now. Cause there's nothing there right now, so.
I mean, that was the whole, one of the things we talked about for Seneca Square was to generate more foot traffic downtown. So if this is one of those things, it's not Seneca Square related necessarily, but related to getting more foot traffic, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Number 9 on the agenda is clarification of CDBG eligibility in regards to the water rate start extension.
So I just want to put a clarification. Again, I'm not saying I'm recommending that we extend it further, but the information that I put out at the last meeting, there's an update to that. I stated that that if we were to extend any more, we would possibly have more of a negative effect with losing community block development grant eligibility. The community block development grant has been extended another month. So again, I'm not saying that we should extend it anymore, but I'm just letting you know that we could technically move it one more month without impacting that grant program. I just wanted to clarify that.
We don't have to take any action tonight.
No, the rate effect as we have right now is going into effect June 1st, but the first billing for it wouldn't come out until, mid to late July though.
Okay.
Number 10, approval of the new electric rate study.
So, talked about this in the past. I was actually approached by BHMG back in November that they wanted to get an approval for an electric rate study. The study takes about 4 months to do, pull a lot of information together, but at the time, GTI was not going to be up and running yet until April, May. So I did not want to put together a massive rate study and have some figures in there that were based off of estimates. I'd rather have it as accurate as we can. So that's why I recommended that we pushed off until now. GTI is supposed to be spinning up in the next week or so. So this would allow, now granted, they're going to go back years of data to look at, but at least with this 4-month study, they'd have 4 months of data to look at for GTI to give us some good recommendations. This is not only possibly modifying any possible rates, but the big thing is that it would create possibly 2 new other rates that we don't have in existence right now for Oglesby, therefore opening up more economic opportunities.
How far back do they go? So, because they're going back 5 years and we have an extra 1.5 million in use, that's probably gonna skew it, I would think.
I don't want to say something that's incorrect. I know they go back quite a ways.
Okay.
So they have data points to look at. They don't use just a single year because whether something good or
Yeah,
bad
no, I
happened in a
understand.
year. So I don't know if I can find out how far back they go, but they do go back a ways and it is quite detailed. They look at a whole bunch of different things, expenditures, employee costs, revenue streams, usages, all kinds of things.
And so are you giving them like a plan like you gave water, like Chamlin's when they calculated ours, or?
So when it came to the water, we had quite a bit of an understanding of we really thought that we were short. That is not the case with the electric. Now, we do have the 10-year, well, your water, you saw that, yeah. We have the 10-year plan of things that we'd like to get done for Oglesby, so they do have that information. But a lot of it is revenue and usages of businesses. Like, for example, what would we, for a rate that we don't have in existence right now, what would we charge for it? And what would be the threshold to create that? Because there's a ton of businesses in town right now that are just under the large capital user rating, but they don't qualify. So there's a big gap between those two. So the question is, obviously we could make a rate somewhere in the middle. What is the right amount that they have to qualify? And then what is the right amount that has to be charged? That kind of needs to be established with the study.
Okay.
The residential rates in Oglesby are penny lower than the average rate for residential. So we're in that 1/3 group for the lowest electrical rates for residential.
Yeah, I don't have any promises of how, if we would be able to lower it or anything like that. Boy, that would be something that'd be really nice. All I'm saying is right now, we're not foreseeing any revenue-related issues for electric.
I just hope we don't raise it on residential, that's my.
I would have a major concern if that were to happen too, because that is not the plan.
The idea is to establish some rates in between residential's, are probably where they should be. It's the commercial that, that gets hit, and then we have the industrial. But we need to look at it.
Okay. Any questions on that?
I need a motion and second.
I'd like to make a motion to approve electric rate study to be conducted by BHMG.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next on the
Could I
agenda.
just jump in one thing there? I think you either have received or you will receive a letter that, a copy of the letter I sent to Joel Hopkins asking him to get working on our appropriations ordinance. I did mention in there, if any of the commissioners know of, you know, like I said, Joel usually builds monies in there for capital projects, but if we know we have a capital project that we really plan on doing this year, you know, you may want to get that to me so I can have him, you know, build in maybe a little extra. If involved.
Yeah.
What about capital projects that we would be paying through TIF? Because I never thought about that, but technically, when we came back,
We would need
Yeah.
the only exception that I mentioned in the letter, because you had mentioned, you know, if we could get a grant when the state does Columbia Avenue to, you know, to fix that water main. For example, I don't know what that cost is, but let's just say it's a $3 million cost. Well,
it's pretty close.
if the city was only gonna do that if they got a grant, there's just no way the city's gonna do that without a grant. I don't necessarily know that we have to build that in. We could build it into the appropriations ordinance, but we wouldn't have to. What we would have to do is if we got the grant, we would have to pass a supplemental appropriations ordinance because we would be undertaking a project that at the beginning of the fiscal year, we didn't have the income stream to pay for the project. And by the way, there's, as I always explain, that the appropriations ordinance just sets the maximum amount you can spend. It's not a budget. So if we even wanna throw it in and just, you know, if you wanna tell me, hey, Jim, tell Joel that he should, you know, under the capital expenditure and the water department should put an extra $3 million water main replacement in there, we can put it in.
Yeah.
It's just that it becomes even less of a
Well, the
of a
reason,
planning tool, you know, the more.
the reason I say that is I think we put it in the appropriations for the transformer, for the Phoenix Sub, even though that came out of TIF. The difference with this is, one, it's a significantly higher cost for the project. And the thing is, if we don't get the grant, we probably won't do the project. So I don't know if that throws off, you know, if you're gonna,
The TIF is, I mean, because we knew we had the funds on hand, so we had to put the transformer in for the TIF. And by the way, if you know, if there's a question, we can always put it in. It doesn't hurt to put it in, since it simply sets a maximum expenditure. I just, you don't want to get something where the appropriations ordinance says, well, we think we're going to take in, you know, $10 million in revenue, and we think we're going to spend $18 million. You know, it never exactly balances because it isn't, you know, just a maximum expenditure. But you probably don't want it to just get silly out of whack, you know, either.
Yeah.
But certainly, if there's any question, if the plan is to, you know, apply for it, maybe it doesn't hurt to put it in. I just wanted, that's not something that Joel would automatically pick up, because what he's doing, because when he does the audit, he's gonna look at what line items were we getting close to the maximum amount we appropriated, and he's gonna bump those line items up. So he's, you know, on capital stuff, unless we give him some input, you know, he's not gonna know about that. That's all, just it, and we'll probably be adopting that in July sometime, so we still got time to just, if you think of stuff like that, just let me know and make sure.
Under old business, Summer Fun Fest.
Well, I think it's probably time to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be open for receiving that many people in one spot.
I talked to Pat, runs a carnival that provides it. He understands where we're at. Says he's got some places that canceled are now coming back to rebooked because of, I guess, the limitations where there are been lifted and they think they can go ahead. You know, we've got time, but if it's the council's decision to do that,
I'm guessing he's gonna have none in Illinois this year, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that, because Illinois will not be open in the fall, I bet, that won't even surprise me. So,
Yeah, even if some miracle the governor came and did approve that we could have something, I think because of the fear of what's going on, I think our turnout would be probably pretty poor right now too anyways.
and I think we should get the vendors and get a hold of all of them, and say, hey, let's just do the same thing next year, we should have our dates and all that kind of stuff, and
well, we've got to.
at least have something for them.
We've got to keep the safety of our residents our
Mhm.
number one priority. So,
That would be my recommendation, is to cancel it this year, but notify vendors, including musical artists, whoever we had booked, to see if they could be available at the same time next year.
Yeah, that discussion too.
We need a motion.
I'll motion to cancel Fun Fest.
Ooh, I'll second. Sounds like a terrible thing to do.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye.
And I also want to point out that a large percentage of our revenue comes from beer sales, and I don't think that's gonna really be an event coming forward here the next 9 months either, so I would expect our beer sales to be down dramatically as well.
Public comments? Having none, commissioner reports?
I have nothing to report tonight.
The fire department has applied for a couple of grants out there, one for their scuba equipment and second one for a new water tanker. We have been denied those in the past, but we're keeping our fingers crossed that this is the year that we get it, because for the scuba equipment, the tanks and that will expire at the end of the year. We do not want to have expired safety gear for our workers, so we'll have to pull the trigger on that purchase unless we get the grant, so.
And so,
And that's information that.
Yeah, I have a
we'll need,
question
because
for
it's price-
so do we put it in our appropriations, and then if we get the grant, not worry about it, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're already there. The appropriate just allows the expenditure.
Okay,
Mhm.
And again, I have no idea how much this is. Like I said, Joel will have equipment and stuff built in, you know, but,
But this is
Jason,
$100,000.
yeah, extra,
100,000.
yeah, we should maybe.
put that in there.
Also, the Columbia job, if we could get a grant for that and decided to do it, we're talking millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So it's
That's why I was
significant.
thinking more, you know,
I-
if you look at like last year's appropriations ordinance, he does have, you know, stuff built in for equipment purchases, but, yeah, I mean, if we know it's coming, then when he sends me the draft, I'll get it off to everybody, we can take a look at it, and, you know, if you say, hey, bump this up, then I'll just let him know.
Okay.
Cause he'll send it to me in an Excel, he'll send it to me in Word, and I can change it, and we'll just run, you know, all the numbers in like an Excel spreadsheet.
From the police department, we traded in 2 vehicles, the one that was used for Trident and one from their fleet that had multiple problems, and ended up getting a different vehicle for our drug task force. We also have ordered our new truck for the fleet. The funds for that truck is gonna come from Impound and Trident. The dollar amount that the city's gonna be tasked for is for outfitting the truck with the equipment that's needed for the police department. And we don't have that, I don't have that, you were gonna get that, yes. So we don't have that pricing yet for that. We did purchase a gun safe, and that's so the police officers can leave their rifles at work. They don't have to take them home where they might have children or whatever in their home. So it's a little more safety for them, so we can leave them at work. We've also connected with gun busters to be able to unload some guns that were left over in the evidence room. And we'll be starting to reorganize the evidence room a little bit better, looking at utilizing propertyroom.com as well for disposal of seized items that we no longer need to maintain the chain of custody. least, some notes of Fun Fest being canceled, so is Cops and Bombers.
All right, I got a few items here. Good news is IMEA had their thing again this year for a grant for LED lighting. We did get approved again. I don't have the specific numbers as of yet, but we are working with the police department to find if there's any lighting out there in the city that we need to work on first before just replacing regular bulbs with LEDs. Also, the mayor talked to me earlier about I guess the video streaming of our meetings is going relatively well. So we're gonna look at some possibilities of integrating a possible stream past this COVID-related stuff as well. I don't know about the legal side of it, that's a whole other thing we'll probably talk about, but as far as the technology and the cost estimates, I'm gonna be seeing what we can find for that works with our system. The good news is when we did put all this system in, we did have it built to where there was a audio output if we ever wanted to expand into that feature. So more to follow on that. Now the big thing. So in the upcoming weeks, we're going to have a hearing in regards to spending money for a grant. This is a very large grant that we're going to go for. It's going to be the Rebuild Illinois grant. Why am I telling you about this? Okay. So I have residents that contact me quite a bit. Usually a resident every other day is contacting me about something somewhere. I don't know if it's because people are at home now, the weather's nice and they're getting out, but I probably had at least 15 residents call me in the last 2 weeks. Even one of them was a non-resident, wanted to annex into the city. So first of all, I thank every resident that contacts me to let me know that there's an issue or something going on, because my biggest interaction I have is with the city workers. If there's a problem with an issue on a street or a roadway or something like that. So a lot of times when a resident will tell me about something and it's not something we're already tracking, I really do appreciate that it's one more thing that we track. So that being said, keep in mind I'm learning government takes a very long time to fix things. Very long time. So as far as street maintenance goes for the year, our number one priority has been this grant that we're trying to get for Columbia and now part of Walnut. I don't know if we're going to get that grant or not, but we do have motor fuel tax money to spend to fix things. So we are looking at different options of what we're going to get done. We have to try to prioritize that. I say that because if your street doesn't happen to get done this year or something like that, please don't fret. There is more things to get fixed in the city than we have funds for. So it's about prioritizing. So again, I thank everybody that's made contact with me. I encourage them to continue to do so. But just keep in mind, your item might not get fixed this year, it might not even get fixed the next year, because we do have to prioritize. Just keep in mind, what you see on the street, so like if you see another street get fixed over yours, and you're like, well, that street doesn't look that bad, keep in mind there's a lot more going on. The biggest thing is what's underneath the street. That has a large cost, and that can have much more detrimental effects to other residents. So please keep that in mind. And that's all I have. Thank you.
I have some cancellations. First couple cancellations will be for the Oglesby Boys Little League and for the Oglesby Girls Softball League. They'll be closed due to the COVID-19, and we'll be looking to open them up next year. Also, it was brought to my attention through the mayor that the canoe landing was closed now due to the flooding down there, which is probably a good idea. It was also, I talked to Bobby Gagey about opening the pool this year. He said by the time you get the pool open, by the time we do everything and the way that things are going, it doesn't look like it's gonna be a good year for anything. They have some maintenance they need to do on the pool, and I said, well, I don't think we're gonna get anything lifted in that amount of time. I think we should probably just look ahead and go do what we have to do. They wanted some pipe work done to look at in there. They thought about maybe sandblasting it. They said every year they have something else go wrong with it. So we agreed on closing the pool for this year. Another thing I'd like to thank the city for is putting in the life-saving equipment at McFedrin Park. Resident that moved here was kind of concerned that there was nothing out there in case of if there was an emergency, we had no lifeline or no life support out there. So we talked about that, and I think they put 4 life preservers in.
That would have the suit.
Yeah. Another thing that I had a lot of people ask me about was putting in a dog park. Now,
I'm for it.
numerous people have come to me, and I said, well, I don't know, I'd have to talk to people and find out what their ideas are of this. I know LaSalle's got the one, Drew's got the one. They always, I mean, they're pretty much used, and I said, well, all I can do is ask. I says, you know, that's up to, get some input from the council and see where we go from there. It was brought to my attention that they would like to use some of Courtyard Park, but then it was brought to my attention that farther behind Courtyard Park, between the water towers, there's open field
In
out there.
between the water tower and the cell tower now, we pretty much have a dead space because we
Space
can't
out
build anything there because
But is,
the water tower or the cell tower could fall and then
but is
that's
it, is
why.
that land even safe? Is there mines over in that area? or-
There's a water tower and a cell tower on it, so it hasn't
I
fallen
mean,
through
around,
yet.
I know, but around that area, I know it gets kinda sketchy with homes.
The only, where I know of is the old landfill area. That's where they have things that'll open up and they have to fill it. I didn't,
There's tunnels all over.
Oh,
all
yeah,
of that,
yeah, if
but-
you go out further south out of town,
Yeah.
by Stickney's and that, they're full of.
but I haven't heard any issues with where the tower, that probably would be a really bad place to build towers if that was happening, so I haven't heard that.
I just wanted to make sure, you know, they're gonna put it somewhere safe. Somebody else told me about maybe using some of Courtyard Park. I said we'd have to decide what's best for it, so.
Well, let's take a look where we can, find the land and enough space where we can try to do that.
I think somewhere out there is fine, like I said, between the towers would be a nice area, I mean, is there enough, to get parking out there, would they have to park on Third Street and walk back there?
Well, we're getting into the project deficit,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we could definitely look into that, but I think right now, since the pool's closed, we wanna kind of worry about.
Yeah, I don't
the
know
pool.
how busy it would be, but if you don't wanna have all that parking on Third Street, sometimes when you have ball games and that's already crowded.
Well, not,
Let's
By
let's
Courtyard
find
Park.
a location
Yeah,
that's suitable and then move forward.
yeah, that's fine. I think that's pretty much all I have tonight.
Thank you. I got a couple things here. This crisis that we're in, it just seems never to go away. Hopefully, we can move on to phase 3 at some time. But presently in Illinois, we've got 2,432 confirmed cases, 26,565 test specimens. Currently, there's been 90,369 reported cases, including 4,058 deaths. I intend to follow the governor's guidelines in keeping the safety of our residents our #1 priority. The medical and science expert recommend that we open doors to normality one step at a time, and I intend to follow their advice on the recommended stages and criteria to open. Presently, we're in phase 2. Hopefully, by the end of the month, we'll go to phase 3. It appears that we will not be able to move forward with events until later on in the year. City of Oglesby, and this is good news, has been notified that the IDNR has approved $55,733.50 in reimbursement for the Vermilion River boat access. We thank Shug Grossenbach of the NCIC of G for helping us dot the i's, cross the t's, and getting it all put together. We've only been battling this since 2015. We're looking at guidelines to open City Hall as we go into phase 3. I'd like to thank Bob Gigi for the graduation banners that are hung on the front of City Hall. He did a great job. And through these times, you get people that go out and do something a little bit special for people. The driver for Republic Big, I give him 5 stars for taking care of some of our Oglesby seniors who aren't able to get their trash cans to the curb. Right now, because of the conditions that we're in, we've got about the same number of people that haven't been paying their utility bills. I would encourage everybody that can pay to please do. If you can't pay, notify the city so we can make some arrangements. Unfortunately, at this time, we've got about $95,000 in delinquent utility bills. And I thank everybody that's working so hard to make it work. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.